So each speaker is going to speak for around 15 minutes or so, and we're going to have a 5-minute slot for questions for anybody who wants to ask any question. Please, I'd like to encourage everyone to utilize the chat box as judiciously as possible, because that's the way we can communicate with you. If anything resonates, if anything that any of the speakers says is something that you can contribute to, or you have any questions, please leave it in the chat box and I'll be here. Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes.
Amanda, can you hear me?
Yes,
Awesome.
I can hear
So
you.
I was in the middle of introducing you. Because I'm having so many challenges, I'd like you to please go right ahead with your paper, and I'll be back to ask questions and moderate it. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Okay, thank you very much. So, more likely, this is going to be more like a conversation. I would have liked to present a paper, but we're just going to discuss based on our experiences in logistics and what AfCFTA really means to us. So, it was a great honor to be invited here by Oluchi and the people at OnePort. My name is Amanda Etuk. My previous background is in pharmacy from the University of Lagos, and I went on to do a postgraduate in global logistics and supply chain. I've had experience in trade, managing modern trade deliveries for FMCG clients with a company called Zippy Logistics. So we managed trade networks for supermarkets for the likes of ShopRite, the stores, and Flour Mills of Nigeria, Multi-Pro Consumer Goods, all the major household brands that you can mention. So we manage their logistics within the country. So what's interesting now is that if you're a Nigerian SME trying to move your products that you sell even within the country to other African markets, then you have a lot of challenges that you face in terms of even logistics and getting to the other side, basically. That's basically what I'm going to be talking about here. So the AfCFTA agreement, just in a nutshell, is the African countries coming together, all 54 countries coming together to create a single market or a single trade market, just so that there can be the free flow of goods, commodities, even people within Africa. So in theory, this is an excellent suggestion. This is an excellent thing that we're all very excited about. We've seen that this has been done previously with the EU, with the European Union, and it's a great benefit for that to come to Africa so that we can trade with one another and we can move about quickly. But there are lots of logistics challenges that now come about moving your products even from Lagos here to Benin Republic. So we have a lot of government issues that have to do with, even not having a uniform tariff around even West African countries. So these are some of the challenges that we have presently. So I'll just mention them to you. And then if there's anyone in the room here that is a trader, or you move things from Lagos here to other African countries, I'll just like you to put a hello in the chat box, so I'll know that you've really taken advantage of AfCFTA, or you've done some trade within the continent. So let me just give some people the time to just say, to indicate if they're traders, if you've done any movements from Nigeria or from outside Nigeria into Nigeria. I'd just like to have a feel of the people that we have in the room. Okay. So that's Oluchi typing, but I just want to know more what sort of people that we have here. Have you moved goods? Not just hello, just let us know what sort of trade you're into, just to know what sort of people that we have here. So you can mention your country and the goods, and then basically what you do, so we know who we're speaking to. So basically, that everything that we talk about directly applies to the people that we have on this call. Okay, so there's a hello from Rimanuskep. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that properly. Then Oladimeji Solomon. So it's great to know that we have people who participate in trade here. Okay, just giving a few more minutes for people to indicate what specialties they're into. You can also let us know your country. Okay, we have hello Abdul Fatai. I can see that there's some other people typing. Okay, so we have people who move packaging materials from Nigeria to Ghana. Hello, Gbemi, great to have you here. I was going to mention that movement from Nigeria to Ghana to Benin Republic, those are some very popular trade routes from the country. Hello, this is Dixon from Ghana. Very happy to have Ghanaians here. Agility Logistics Park, great to have you. Henry Wanguma, you've done perishable cargo from East Africa into Nigeria by air. It's very great that you've mentioned that particularly. Yes, agro commodities trading, that's Abdul Fatai, majorly within West Africa. So we have a lot of people here who are trying to trade within Nigeria or even outside Nigeria to other countries within Africa. And I'll just mention here what some of the challenges for us are. So basically, Africa is a landlocked area. So a lot of the shipments are going by air rather by sea, which might be cheaper. But most of this expensive freight costs going by air. So we would have loved the situation where we could explore rail transport or road transport to move things from Nigeria to other West African countries, but unfortunately, that's some of the infrastructure challenges that we're having. Okay, Rimanu Squep is moving things from. Now, he works with Skyway Strings Technology, head office in Belarus. I think that's out. That's in Europe, if I'm sure. Um, Basically, moving things into Nigeria. So I'll just start with some of the logistics challenges that we have because that's the bone of contention for me, basically. So we have the poor infrastructure. I've mentioned that a lot of cargo shipments has been done by air. It would be a lot cheaper if we could move these items either by road or by rail, just to make it cheaper for the average SMEs to also take part in this. Then we have the lack of uniformity in tariffs. So you can have a tariff for custom duties that you're paying in Nigeria, and then by the time that you get to Ghana or to get to another country, there are different sets of tariffs or custom duties that you have to pay. This makes it very difficult for small businesses to even get into the exportation business because they have to get the financing and the capital to be able to do this. So that's one of the things that is a major challenge for us. And we have security challenges as well. A lot of people still move things across the land borders from Lagos here into other neighboring countries, but security is a major challenge. We've seen that we're welcoming new innovations with maybe even the Nigeria and Niger rail line, which we hope that would open things up even in that region in North Africa. So those are some of the challenges we have, mostly about the high tariffs that we have, the lack of uniformity, the lack of visibility. If you're sending items within Africa, you're paying very high air freight costs just because there's no available alternatives in terms of transportation. And then you also have the security, poor road networks. Infrastructure is a major challenge moving things from Nigeria. So another thing that we have apart from infrastructure, just the other day, if we're talking about cold chain, for instance, we don't have enough warehousing and storage facilities also for different types of specialized transport. There are lots of people here who are moving agro commodities. If it's done by air, that's a bit more expensive, even for the other people on the other end to buy these products. Then do we have the right manpower handling our things? So even for the logistics sector, again, people at the ports, even people who are practitioners, we have a lack of specialization. We have a lot of logistics companies that are coming up and trying to capture the whole market. We have companies that are specializing in everything, and we don't have ones who are niched down to actually provide the sort of service that we're looking for. So it will be more ideal if we're working with companies who were maybe particularly into agro transport or particularly into cold chain or particularly into freight forwarding or into things like that. But we have a lot of companies that are offering general solution without being exact specialists in what they're offering. Okay, so we're talking here with OnePort. They have a lot of solutions for freight forwarding, just to mention that on the call, because I've seen some messages in the chat box as well, and about people who are building specialized warehouses. So infrastructure is a major challenge for moving things within Africa, and also the lack of having a centralized location. You hear people talking about how they're flying things first to, it's either faster to receive things from Europe than to even receive things within Africa. So those are some of the challenges that we're having. Then we have limited cargo flights as well that are coming into specific African countries. And then I'll mention again, because this is something that really affects a lot of logistics providers, is the lack of consolidation. You could be sending cargo to, for instance, Burkina Faso. Do you have enough cargo to come back? And I think this is one of the areas that technology can come in and how it can help us solve these problems. So I've mentioned a lot about the issues that we're having as technologists or logisticians in this sector of moving things within Africa or even from our neighboring countries, about how expensive it is and how it really shouldn't be that expensive. So there are things that we hope that the after guy here, the executive, that's Mr. Afful, can address. Just talk about uniform tariffs and what policies are basically helping countries to trade with one another. So another issue that we've had, even as a country or other African countries, is that there's a lot of lack of uniformity in the policies. So there might be a policy here to ship from Nigeria to maybe say Ghana, and then there might be an issue when you get to Ghana in terms of maybe one regulation not coinciding or synchronized with what is also available in Nigeria. So I like that the Afful executive is here to address some of those concerns, and also to have uniform tariffs that make it easier to move, across countries. I'm talking particularly about Ghana because there's someone here who can address our concerns in that area. So I also just mentioned that the things that technology has done for us, and which is particularly why companies and organizations such as OnePort are great partners to have. So there's a more transparency. Basically, if you're using a freight forwarder such as OnePort, you can tell where your shipments are per time. And then this does for you is speed in making business decisions. You're able to address concerns as they come up. And then companies such as this have made sort of uniform pricing that you can estimate how much you're going to spend moving from Nigeria, for instance, into Ghana or into other markets. So it's easier working with a formalized company so that you can have an idea of your entire value chain or supply chain cost moving from one end to the other. I haven't spoken with Hayo about this, but I know that this is one of the benefits of using a formalized freight forwarder rather than having costs that come up in between the shipments. I know that a lot of people here who move cargo, I don't know if you've experienced this before. You've budgeted how much you're going to spend on, for instance, logistics, and in between, you're getting messages from the logistics company about maybe a seizure or customs or something that you have to pay a bit extra on. Let me just see if anyone has had that experience. If you've had an experience where your logistics cost has gone overboard due to things that you did not factor at the beginning of the transaction. So let's just let me hear from people in the comment section. I can see that someone is typing. Okay, so just giving a bit more time for that. So, in the absence of that, the logistics sector, especially trying to move intra-Africa, is fraught with a lot of difficulties and a lot of challenges, from security, like I mentioned, to infrastructure, to a lack of uniform policies, to high tariffs, having to move most of our things by air, and just to a lot of other corruption, even along the supply chain. I know that a lot of borders would involve maybe some sort of bribery or tips along the way. A lot of people have confirmed that this is Oladimeji. Yes, if you're moving cargo, there's a lot of tipping that has to, go on, and then that affects the cost of your products, even the cost of the profits and your bottom line as a small business. There's a lot of intervention that has to be gone, that has to go in. That has to go in for businesses to benefit from after. And I hope that the other people on this call can address those. I think I'm coming towards the end of my time. I'll still be here to answer other logistics questions, but I'll just allow Oluchi take over from here.
I wish I could ask everyone to give a round of applause, but I'm sure that we probably won't be able to hear it. So I'm just going to go ahead and clap. Thank you so much, Amanda. That was incredibly insightful. I'm going to leave a minute for people to please ask questions. I think the joy of gatherings like this is that we get to learn from each other, and I like how active the chat button has been. I've even taken notes of some people that I'm going to reach out to immediately after this webinar. So thank you so much. I think we have a very, very quality audience, and I think that Amanda has done a great job in summarizing the current challenges, which will take us into the next speaker, who's going to be talking a lot about after, as he is an after expert. So let's give some time for questions. Um, this is more a comment than a question. Amanda, do you want to go ahead and respond?
Yes, I would go ahead and respond to this. So it says, Amanda, you did more of a marketing pitch as opposed to robbing minds to solve the problems. So I like that we can have interactive sessions like this so that we can discuss what our challenges are. But I'm not going to pretend to you that the challenges will be solved in one call. Also, why I have particularly stated the benefit of working with a formalized freight forwarder which OnePort happens to be, because of some of the challenges I've mentioned. So if you're going into business or trade or anything from one state to the other, you have to deal with a lot of unforeseen costs in your supply chain. That is a major bottleneck for any SME or any small business that's just trying to expand. So I know that this company here is using technology to solve some of these problems, or trying to give you a fixed logistics cost so that you can have more visibility for your supply chain. So I could have spoken about any other company doing this, but I'm particularly on a OnePort call. So technology has come in many ways to solve some of these issues. So it's not more about marketing, it's more about how can we leverage technology even as a small business owner. And then that's where partnerships come in. There are a lot of things that you can do in terms of logistics, and partnerships are very important. So you see that even local logistics companies here are partnered with international logistics companies so that they can bypass some of the bottlenecks and some of the issues that are involved with maybe clearing, or maybe even understanding the business terrain on the other end of the country that they're going to. That's the importance of partnership. But will I tell each and every single SME to find a partner in the country they want to trade with, or rather work with a formalized company that can provide the partnerships and the reach that they're looking for? Okay.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'd also like to address Mr. Henry's comment and explain that we have three speakers. So we are going to talk to AFTA on a larger scale. Amanda's job today is essentially to show us what the challenges currently are, especially as AFTA has not particularly kicked off officially yet. But we will have the AFTA conversation immediately after this. So I'd like to, encourage you to stay tuned. And I'm sure that our next speaker, Mr. Lewis, will do a lot of justice to your questions. We also have a comment from Damilola that says, thank you for the insightful analysis of the problems and the ways to improve supply chain. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and wait again to see if we have any more questions, while also doing a recap of all the things that Amanda mentioned that are the challenges. Some of them are poor infrastructure in terms of road network and rail. We also have lack of tariff uniformity amongst all the different nations, and also obviously insecurity being a very, very, very big one. I can see someone is typing, so I'm trying to see if I can have a bit of patience so that we can get that question before I let you go, Amanda. And while we wait, I'd like to say a very big thank you on behalf of 1.365 for you taking time out of your very busy schedule to speak to us and impart from your wealth of knowledge. We truly, 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 truly appreciate the time and the efforts. And thank you for answering our call. We really appreciate it. Okay, someone is still typing. We are on a time crunch, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go. But I hope you'll stay on the call just in
I
case.
will be on the call. I'll be on the
Awesome.
call.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, everyone. I'd like to ask my control room to please go right ahead to add our next speaker so that we keep the train going as smoothly as it's been going. Oladimeji Solomon says, thank you, Amanda. That session was quick and insightful. That's how we love it over here. Quick and insightful. Thank you so much, Oladimeji. All right, I think we have our next speaker up, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. Mr. Lewis Your Afful is an international trade practitioner and an African Continental Free Trade Area expert. Lewis' expertise focuses on private sector entrepreneurship, innovation, and policy success under AfTA. He has been part of the consultative experts who participated in the workings of the African Continental Free Trade. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask us to please welcome Mr. Lewis Afful to the call as we take his presentation. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Lewis. Can you see or hear me? Hello, Mr. Lewis. Great to
Good
have you.
morning to you, Oluchi, and good morning to
Good morning.
Amanda and all the participants. Pleasure having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. I want to also congratulate Amanda for the earlier um, presentation. In fact, I was really bound by so many activities today and tomorrow, but I said let me do my best to usher in this. I don't know whether it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Very all important program. And to start with, I'm trying to do a program for the youth. We call it the Youth in Trade Summit. It's happening tomorrow, where the Secretary General, after Secretariat, is the keynote speaker. I brought this in because we are looking at the state of after trading. In other words, since trading started 2021, what has been the progress so far? Where are we? What can we do? How are things progressing? And I know most people would like to hear that. And people are urging and itching. And so that is the purpose of tomorrow's program. We're hoping we can do it online. Now, coming to the importance of how the organization can connect the dots when it comes to the African Continental Free Trade. I think that right now, the rules of origin, which is very, very important to allow people to trade, is about 87.13%. It's because the rules of origin has not been fully ready at the time. That was why it was difficult for trading to commence, because you have to be committed to something, because you have to give away what you want to compete. And so it is important that now that this hurdle is almost taken out, the good news also is that I don't know whether I can be heard. Is my sound okay? Oluchi, is my sound okay? Can they hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can they hear me?
Right ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
We can all hear you, sir.
All right, thank you. Let me continue.
Yes.
So thank you. So we have a scenario where 54 countries, yes, have signed. Currently, 43 to 44 are full party states or state parties. What it means is that the rest who are not state parties, they cannot trade. So intra-African trade, though they have signed, there is a need for them to go beyond ratification and then become a full trading state. Let me use that word. So it means if Nigeria has signed, Nigeria has ratified, and Nigeria has not deposited its instrument at the AU, and Ghana is a full state. Nigeria and Ghana cannot trade under AfTA. They can trade under ECOWAS ETLS, but they cannot trade under AfTA. And so the biggest bottleneck is to remove and urge member states to satisfy the 3 levels of becoming a state party so that they can trade. Because if you have West Africa and about 5 countries sharing border have not become state parties, they cannot trade among themselves. And so if there are 5 and 4 are not full states and one is, he has to trade among the other blocks. And so that is a big issue that is being pushed, saying that member states, those who are 44, we will reach 54. So we have about 10 more countries to go to become 54 trading states. Secondly, another milestone in recent, just about the past week that have been chalked, is the e-tariff book that have been launched. It's very, very significant. You cannot trade without knowing what a country wants. You cannot trade when you don't know what the other country's import and export looks like. You be in the dark. It's like doing business in the dark. So that has been launched. If you go to AU, if you go to I think afta.au/tariff.org, you will have it there. That is important to tell you. For example, if you want milk to import, you choose the country. I'm importing from Togo. To which country? Maybe Nigeria. It will pop up and bring you the tariff considerations, the tariff margins. And let's also not forget, it is important for you to know the tariff concessions offered. And currently, West Africa went in as a block. When they say they went in as a block, West Africa decided to trade in as one partner, submitted all their list of products they want to liberalize as one block. Other countries, other regions did the same. But you had countries like maybe Cairo and Seychelles going individual is allowed. These tariffs are very important. Why? Because the agreement gives 3 categories of tariff liberalization and reduction. Some countries opt out to reduce their tariffs over a period of 5 years, others 10 years, others 15 years. What it means is that from the day that trading begins, if you are liberalizing over 5 years, then it means that in 5 years' time, you have to be zero tariff. You have to have zero tariff. To the layman, if I am trying to import a product from Nigeria, and that product Nigeria has already given out its concession, it means that, and it's an after product, when I'm importing, what it means is that when it comes to Ghana port here, we should, if it's leaving Nigeria, it means that if Nigeria has liberalized over a period of 5 years, the first year, maybe to say, okay, this product we are giving we are liberalizing over 10%, 20%. In other words, before AfCFTA came, if that same product was attracting duty of, let's say, 20%, then it means if you are liberalizing, then this time around, maybe you are saying the first 5 years, first year you liberalize 20%. That 20% will be 20% of the original 20%. So to come down. But in 5 years' time, when you have completed your journey of 5 years liberalization, it should be totally zero. So that in 5 years' time, if I'm importing the same product, I don't need to pay anything from anywhere, from that same country. And other countries are saying, let me do it over a period of 10 years, because if I look at my revenue target and revenue mobilization, I'm not there yet. Others are saying, let me do it over a period of 15 years. So we all come to the point. So let's assume in 20 years' time, let me say in 16 years' time, every AfCFTA state or state party would have liberalized at zero. At zero, that means that no one is going to charge anything. By that time, I'm also sure that we move to the next stage of the free trade. That is having one custom union. Right now, we are doing custom management and cooperation. So in other words, I look at what you are doing, you two look at what I'm doing, you know what I'm harmonizing here and there. We do have one yet. If we have a harmonized custom union, then it makes intra-trade also very easy and accessible. How? You'll be able to, when you go to Nigeria, whatever is done at the borders is the same replicated at Ghana. Whatever documentation is the same done here. We haven't gotten there fully yet. Where we are now, they have the AfCFTA rules of AfCFTA certificate of origin. That one, every country must have the same unique feature. That is progressive. One important thing I want us also to understand among ourselves that this whole thing is a progress. It's not an event. It's a process that is taking time, because our ultimate goal by the African Union is to have what we call one African market. And to have one African market, it starts from free trade, then you move to one custom union, then one currency, one passport, and then it keeps going until we reach that destination. So you want the experience problems that we are having now is some of the challenges free trade you have. Europe is at one market now, but it didn't start in a day. One key important area that AfCFTA Secretariat that I got to know. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Afful. I am a trade practitioner and I focus on AfCFTA. But I own one of the first and largest international NGOs on international trade, and then especially on AfCFTA. One important thing I have known of my inquiries from the AfCFTA Secretariat that this year they are going to focus on 5 areas, thematic areas, and that has to do with 1, logistics and transport. So I'm very happy that this company is moving in quickly. For logistics and transport, they're going to focus. They're going to focus on agribusiness. They're going to focus on pharmaceuticals. They're going to focus on the automobile industry. They're going to focus also on ICT. And then I think vaccines and what have you. These are very important. Without logistics, you cannot move your goods. Transport and logistics, you can't. Even if the products are intangible, there's one way or the other you still have to move. Because the agreement says, free movement of people, free movement of persons and the goods. So if your goods cannot go through maybe rail, road, maritime, air, how are you going to receive it? Then it's as bad as not having intra-African trade. And so to me, logistics and transport is one of the most important pillars that will drive AfCFTA. And we need to really fund logistics, because logistics and transport goes with high infrastructure. And if you look at what defines AfCFTA, we call them the BIAT, boosting intra-African trade, the pillars, the signs. How would you know a country is performing well under AfCFTA? You have to look for what we call the BIAT, boosting intra-African trade. And one of them is what we call trade-related infrastructure. So under trade-related infrastructure, you have transport and logistics. So that if a country is not spending enough on its infrastructure, its roads, its rails, then you are going to you lag behind. Because you can have a very good productive economy, and yet you have to transport it outside. Because remember, we are trying to low scale, exporting our raw material outside Africa. So if you are going to do intra-Africa, then we need to connect the dots in terms of infrastructure. And so it is important, and I'm going to urge this firm to be able to look beyond the 4 cardinals of this logistics in terms of road and that. No, go beyond. And I'm happy they have technology as part of it. Come out to technological advancement, come out to technological apps, come out with so many things that can even track vehicles, look at arrival of airplanes, passenger flight, there's something you can do when it comes to transporting the persons and then the goods, which is very, very key. Well, if you cannot do joint venture, because this whole thing of AfTA is about joint venture. Ghana started it real. It wanted to end it at one of our border towns, but realized that no, in coming in of AfTA, we need to have extended it to Burkina Faso. If you have our Terminal 3, we come out with one of the biggest ports called the Terminal 3, part of the Tema port, which is doing a lot of volumes of containers a day, because we are looking at the future. If you also look at our aviation, I won't say we have done much because we don't have a national airline yet, but we need to look at all these very infrastructure and very assets that goes with making sure the goods get to where. So I'm urging this company to do it best. If you get joint ventureship, go for the support, because you have a lot of market awaiting you. Another important area that AfTA is going to look at is that, yes, having looked at logistics and transport, you're also going to look at a key area, agribusiness. And this is why I urge the youth. This is a world-blowing area, because the whole after Continental Free Trade Agreement, the rules of origin, has about 50% of products all within the agricultural sector. Therefore, in most economies, we are still growing out from the primary base. And agriculture is key. 50% contribute to GDP. So why are we neglecting it? And that is why most economies are struggling. Because if you neglect agriculture sector, which is huge, which you can do agri-processing, which can connect into the manufacturing and industrialization, the people will not only go hungry, but you're going to find it difficult getting to the manufacturing sector. Because right now, we are not producing products at a tech base, adding tech value. So agribusiness is very key. And so once we have certain agribusinesses, either processed or in natural state, we can now call on the logistics and trust. Look, send these goods to here. If you take Nigeria can count on Ghana for salt. Ghana can count on Nigeria for wheat. Why would Nigeria go and import wheat from maybe Brazil or somewhere, or salt from outside Africa? Why would Ghana go and import one Nigeria? It can count on Nigeria for either tomatoes or rice. These are the practical things of eliminating the strict tariff, the trade barriers. These are the practical attitude that shows we are ready. You see, if we say one thing and at the end of the day we are still importing from outside Africa, then we are not ready, because the rules of origin has component that says that, excuse me, wholly made and wholly obtained. Remember, the fact that the product is produced in the country does not mean it's wholly made from there. It is supposed to be wholly obtained. That means that the product's raw materials is coming from that country. And this way, Africa, we are good. We have raw materials here. So if it's coming from Ghana or Nigeria and it's wholly obtained, the agreement says it qualifies as an African product, or it qualifies with an originating status as an African product, and it's subject to free tariff or a reducing tariff concession. This is very, very key. So agribusiness is one of the areas I want to talk about, that as a logistics firm, look at those who want to export agribusiness. Look at those who want to export agri-processed products within the sub-region. The third and but the last I would like to focus on is what has to do with the area of ICT. Remember, if we want to look at the Africa in the next decade, I am very happy these days. I see a lot of youth in Africa coming out of various apps, coming out of various technological innovations. We need to support these youth or these startups. How do we support them? The AfTA countries must make provision either for, I always said, a startup bank or a youth bank, women bank or women startup bank. That is when that bank will focus on them. The problem with African banks in most countries is that the banks are not focused. The banks keep changing their portfolios. Today they'll say they are interested in this, tomorrow they will change. They are not focused. So they are not able to absorb the strategic plans that these startups or these companies or these youth have. And so they are just left stranded. But if you have a bank and said, I'm supporting agribusiness purely, I'm not adding investment. If you say you have an investment, I'm supporting investment. If you have infrastructure, we need to encourage these financial institutions so that they can push those within all these sectors. ICT is key, because some of the product and the AfTA is not only goods, you have services. And services contribute about 50% also to most incomes. And the services, you have tourism, and the services you have transport, you have ICT, you have financial institutions, you have professional bodies, you have the ones that are also coming, you have education, you have cultural services, you have distribution services, you're also going to have health, and then you're going to have another important one people don't know, sports. These are areas that we can be able to encourage our member states to be able to open up and to be able to integrate the institutions within their agencies to mop up the gaps. So I would like to pause here. Once I've seen Oluchi, I'm sure that she just signaling me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was incredibly insightful, and I'd like to thank you for doing justice to the topic. We have a couple of questions here. Some were not meant for you, but I will have to ask them to you because you're the one who's on the hot seat at the moment. So, someone is asking, as a palm oil distributor, do I have a chance of selling outside Africa? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Is it inside or after? Because we are saying we want to boost
Oh,
intra-African.
yes, we're talking about intra-African trade. So I'm sure that maybe
So,
I would like to ask the person to rephrase the question. And but can the person
okay,
actually
but both
ship
ways.
outside of
But both
Nigeria?
ways. Both
Yes.
ways. If you want to ship it outside Nigeria, it has always been done. People ship yam, oil, non-traditional products or traditional products. They do. Again, if you are shipping out of Nigeria to where? That is where the person needs the what we call the market intelligence information to know which country will be interested in that product you are bringing, whether it has liberalized. So, for instance, you go to this website I'm talking about, you type, you want to send it to, let's say, Cote d'Ivoire. You type Cote d'Ivoire, you type the kind of product, say you want to import, you type your country, now country exporting from. Then they will give you the details, whether they have liberalized that product. When they say liberalized, some countries say, no, no, I won't accept this product here. So if you come, you're going to be given this kind of tariff. Others will say, okay, this one I've liberalized, I can bring into my country, but at a certain reduced rate. So it is important for the country, the person, to go to its Ministry of Trade and find out. If you come to Ghana, we have the Ministry of Trade, we have Ghana Export Promotion, we have customs. They are the tax agencies to help people to identify the product they want to import and export, apart from going on the website. So that is what the person can contact us SO anyway, and we can help them with that kind of market intelligence. But this is what else you can, but you need to get the information.
Thank you so much, sir. This question was originally for Amanda, but I feel like you would also do justice to it. I would like to know if there are discussions on multiple taxations and levies across African borders. Over to you, sir.
This is what I was saying, that once you have the agreement is saying that when you are liberalizing of a certain period, it is unique, it's uniformed. Remember, tax on export is what we call tariff. So in the layman's word, what it means is that there are uniform taxes or tariffs, tax on export or import duties, that if you are liberalizing over 5 years, you have to state it clearly. It's going to be transparent. For example, if Ghana is liberalizing over a period of 5 years, it means that whatever product that you are bringing, we have made it clear to the African Secretariat, we have published it, that we are going to charge you 10% tariff. What it means is that when you bring it here, we'll charge 10% for in terms of tax on it. In 5 years' time, if you bring it again, we wouldn't charge you any taxation or tariff on it. That is how it's going to look like. No one is going to sit somewhere and have its own tariff kind of applications. No. If you are for 10 years and you are reducing over a certain period of time, it's unique among all those going 10 years. And whatever changes you do in your taxation laws, you have to send a copy to the AfCFTA Secretariat that, look, I have made these tariff changes, I've made these concessional changes. Let the public know, let the other member states know. This is what is going to happen.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Somebody was asking about a website. You were talking about a website where they can go for some information. Could you give us that website again so that I can type it in the chat box for everyone?
I'm trying hard. I think it's AU. I think AU. I think au.afta.org/tariff. It will take you there. au.afcfta.org/tariff or
All
e-tariff.
right. That's fine. I
You
have
want to go to
gone
AU and
ahead.
after you will get, yes.
I think a Google search would also help. If you do
Yes.
AU and then tariff in Google search, I'm pretty sure it'll bring out the correct link in case this one is incorrect.
Okay.
We have someone else who says, I think we already have a good transport technology these companies can partner with and can have a good process of doing all this. I'm happy we are finding solution to all these. Thank you for your brief presentation, sir. Thank you for that comment. Damnola says, thank you, Mr. Afful. Your session was an eye-opener. What website do we get this info from? I think I provided this. And I'm going to take this one last question. Okay, no, I think I have two more questions, so we'll try and rush through it. Thanks for the enlightenment, Mr. Lewis. Major challenge, I think, is customs in each African country. What role would they be playing in AfTA? And then Mr. Henry asks, any enforcement mechanism for this, Lewis? I'm not sure what we're asking about, Mr. Henry. If you could give me a bit more information regarding enforcement mechanism for which of the things that Mr. Lewis has mentioned. But let's talk about the customs question, sir, and then we'll go to the last question afterwards. So the question is, customs in each African country, what role would they be playing in AfTA? Go ahead, sir.
They are key. The agreement says you must have a customs management and cooperation. And now, Oluchi, I should throw the question back to you. If you produce, which institution will you will you go through before the goods arrive in the country? Customs.
Definitely customs.
Good. So customs are pillars of this agreement, and they have to manage it under the agreed procedures. By the person must have the goods in what do you call it? After certificate of origin. The goods that is going must be liberalized, as I have explained. So customs play all this role. When you enter Ghana, we have what we call the ICOMS. It is a single window at the port where they check the goods coming in, what have you. You have to check which harmonized code, which headings the product comes under, whether it is an after product or it's not an after. If it's an after product, it will go to the reduced tariff offers that I've explained. If it's not an after product, then you are going to bear full brunt of the tax import duty on it. So this is how customs are going to operate. They are going to ensure the application of the tariffs. They are going to ensure the goods entries and then the departure of these goods. Basically, this is what the customs are going to do. And at the borders, they're going to ensure free movement of people. Very, very important.
Awesome. And then the question about enforcing was around tariffs. Mr. Henry is asking that what is the plan to enforce this tariff reduction over time? And this will be the last question for you, Mr. Lewis. Go ahead, sir.
That is a very big, important question. If we've agreed, we must make sure that it's transparent and uniformed. If you have any challenge, if you're a client or country, you have a trader, and you have issues with any of the member state, maybe it's Nigeria, you had the issue, or Ghana, you had the issue, you have to complain. There is a new complaint mechanism, we call it the 48 hours. The complainant must complain to the Ministry of Trade of that country, and then in 48 hours, you have to be given a response. That is, and then we also have dispute settlement mechanism. There's dispute settlement. It's very important, whereby there are trade disputes and issues of complaint, arbitrations that is also in place to solve all these, mitigate all these foreseeable issues.
Okay, thank you, sir. We do have another follow-up from Mr. Henry, but I don't know that we have the time to particularly take it at this point. But you know what? I'll make an exception because Mr. Henry has been very, very participatory in today's webinar. I was in dialogue with the AfTA Secretariat once, and the concern was raised about complaint resolution. If a private trader has issues at the border, what would be the mechanism for resolution? I mean, private to public. Can we quickly take this, Mr. Lewis? Oh, I think Mr. Henry says you've answered this already because you did mention about conflict resolution. So I think we can go ahead and let you go. We're incredibly grateful to you, sir, for taking such time and for being incredibly thorough with your presentation. We'd like to ask that we can have you again because I think that the 15 to 20 minutes timeline is not enough to totally really discuss this at length, but we really are incredibly appreciative, and we hope that when we come and ask you to, do this again, you will answer us positively like you did this time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. We will definitely stay in touch. Thank you so much. We can now let you go because I know you have a very busy day. Awesome. So that was great. That was incredible. So we're going to keep making it incredible by going on to our next speaker, who is in-house, my boss. His name is Sola-Usidame. He's the co-founder of OnePort 365, Africa's premier digital freight forwarding platform with the vision to connecting Africa to global trade by simplifying the shipping process for SMEs, and large enterprises across the African continent. And I like to say that that is the major reason why OnePort 365 is doing this and will continue to do this in future times. We can't just stand for digitizing or revolutionizing freight without also making sure that stakeholders and other supply chain experts are also involved in the conversation. I would like to keep having this back and forth, and I think that everybody's going to leave here understanding more about not just the company, but what the company is doing or is going to do to make things even better in terms of intra-African trade. So, hello, Shola. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Oluchi. Good afternoon. Well,
Yes,
it's past
good
12 now.
afternoon.
Thank
Yes,
you
it
very
is
much for making
afternoon.
this happen.
So
Yeah.
please, the floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Awesome. Thank you very much for making this happen. And also to the in-house team at 1.365. I say a big thank you. And thanks for joining in, most especially, well, to the audience for joining in terms of listening to the challenges and how we look at it in terms of potential solutions for cross-border traders in Africa. Cross-border traders in Africa are a group of traders we're significantly very passionate about in terms of the market in Africa is what I'll call significantly different from the market in the rest of the world. And this is a conversation I have weekly when I jump on calls and sessions like this. Because to a large extent, you're dealing with so many traders who this is their lifeline. You're dealing with small scale commodity trading, you're dealing with small scale agro-allied traders, right? People who have, despite the challenges in regards to insecurity, despite the challenges in regards to things such as power, and despite the challenges in regards to issues such as infrastructure, they still make it happen, really, And for us at 1.365, we see that how do we support this bracket of traders to ensure that on a daily basis, basically, they consolidate their cargo. Let's say you're dealing with like a small scale farmer who actually who does a lot of his agro-allied trading out of let's say Kano, and he sells to his buyers who are based in Rotterdam, or let's even say he sells to his buyers who are based in, let's say, for example, in Tema, Ghana. How do we ensure that we can actually support them and make this process simpler? Because there's so many challenges involved when it comes to cross-border trade in Africa, right? And that would actually be the core aspect of my conversation this afternoon, in talking about what are those challenges and how we potentially see the solutions and how we are looking to solve it at 1.365. I can tell you, yes, we will play a part in solving it. We will solve everything. I can tell you that. And we're constantly working with partners in terms of private sector partners, the regulators, in ensuring that we can streamline to a large extent a lot of this bottlenecks and challenges involved in the process. Now, what are the typical things we actually see that in terms of like inefficiencies in the cross-border trade in Africa, right? And I'll say one of the biggest one actually revolves around the issue around the infrastructure. That is a major, major challenge. Infrastructure is still a major challenge, right? Okay, so I make reference to this because we at one point we were constantly having to deal with cross-border traders, and we're getting bookings on a daily basis, on a per minute basis, really. And you come across traders who, for example, are trying to move cargo from, we'll come to mind now, from let's say Kano, and they're moving it to Mombasa in Kenya, right? And we say AfCFTA has opened. Yes, AfCFTA has opened, which is a fantastic opportunity for cross-border traders. What does that mean? Let me spend 2 minutes. I think Mr. Lewis is a fantastic expert when it comes to that, to the subject of AfCFTA. But I'll spend 2 minutes kind of elaborating on the opportunity for AfCFTA, right? And the importance of ensuring that we can actually all make it work with AfCFTA. What does AfCFTA typically mean? It basically means that Africa, as much as possible, becomes as good as a single market. The trader who is trading out of Kaduna, right, can see Accra equally the same way he can see Lagos as an equal market, right? Because what are we saying here? We're saying, but as much as possible, borderless transactions, borderless, basically moving cargo without tariffs as much as possible from one location to the other within Africa, right? That is already currently being produced, and that's already currently being practiced within the EU, right? So for Africa, right, we're expanding the market with AfCFTA. Typically, the trade routes have been the colonial trade routes, if I can use that word, right? So it's been very much, I've crisscrossed around Africa, right? And one thing I find very common across different locations I go to in Africa is one thing that exists amongst most places is there's always a train line or rail track that originates from one location, hinterland in Africa, in the country, and terminates typically at the port, right? Because back in the days, during the colonial era, that was the typical trade route. Basically, commodities are harvested, are basically sourced from inland locations in wherever you go to, right? And then they're taken to the port and they're exported. And then those trade routes have developed whereby they've been exported and then they're being sold to markets such as Europe and North America, right? And then basically they're being sold and they're being moved on vessels, they're being moved on ships, and then basically that has been the trade route. Now, with AfCFTA, what does that mean? That means basically you can have cargo originating, let's say a guy who is a commodity trader who is producing, let's say, ginger. He can potentially export it to Burundi or to Kenya, right? But in exporting it and moving that cargo from point A, which is in West Africa, to East Africa, right? What you typically find out is there's actually a lack of direct trading routes. What does that mean? Let me simplify it in a very simple way. If you have cargo currently that's moving from, let's say, West Africa, I'll give an example of Lagos, and it's going to Burundi. Now, because the typical trade routes over the years and over the centuries have been built in such a system whereby it's been Africa to Europe. Now, what you see happen with most of those shipments, if it's moving, for example, from West Africa to East Africa, is that it has to typically go to Europe, right? Or it can actually maybe translate in like North Africa, go to that corridor, right? And then typically you can sit there for a week, you can sit there for 2 weeks, right? And then it transits to East Africa. So when you do the numbers and you do the metrics, you see that actually the cost of moving cargo within Africa itself is significantly high because there's actually a lack of direct sailing routes. There's a lack of infrastructure that connects most African countries to the other, which is a major problem. Now, with AfCFTA actually opening up, that's a fantastic initiative. That's a fantastic concept. But what are we doing when it comes to infrastructure? What are we doing when it comes to borders, right? And I said earlier this year, for example, right? You're moving cargo via road from Nigeria to Ghana, okay? For a long time, the borders were first of all initially closed in Nigeria. Then it got to a point whether they were opened, well, they're open, they're not open. There was all that whole mixture and all that. Even after opening it, right? When you're moving the cargo from Nigeria, the Togolese government, for example, specifically said you have to pay duties for the cargo in Togo before you can transit to Ghana. We need to simplify that process, right? So it's one thing to actually ensure that we are looking at a single market, but how are we introducing policies to actually simplify and streamline that trade within Africa? And that's a very, very critical thing. Simplify the process is very critical. Improving upon infrastructure is also very, very critical. We have key ports. We have key ports that are still focused on moving cargo from, again, the same typical trade route. Can we have dedicated ports, for example? You can understand, in Nigeria, for example, we have, I think, 5, 6 ports, right? That can potentially do containerized cargo. But in this 5, 6, we probably only have 3 that are active doing containerized cargo, right? Can we have ports that are closer to the hinterlands, right? Like a Warri port, for example, that are dedicated ports moving cargo within Africa, right? And can we set up such infrastructure within specific locations in Africa? That will go massive and it will go a long way in ensuring that we can simplify and streamline the process. Now, the second and most important, the second and also a very, very critical challenge most of these guys actually face in terms of cross is the fact that the process is very opaque and cumbersome, right? So what do I mean by that? So you have a guy who's basically exporting, he refers to ginger. Ginger is something I like. You have a guy who's a cross-border trader who's exporting, let's say, ginger, and he's exporting 3 containers of ginger, right, from a Kano. And it's going to, where it comes to mind now, and it's going to, let's say, a Point Noir. in the Congo. Can anybody hear me? My internet keeps popping up. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. So let me just go back to that. All right. So he's moving 3 containers, for example, of ginger, right? From northern Nigeria to a location basically that's where comes to mind now. That's let's say he's moving it to again, I'll keep you, or let's take this time, he's moving to Point Noir in Congo, right? The typical African cross-border trader, right? Because it's containerized, you'll be thinking, okay, let me put it on ocean freight, let me put it on the vessel, right? To move from Lagos port to another location, let's say Point Noir, which is in the Congo, right? Now, in executing that transaction alone, there are various bottlenecks they have to come across. And I'm going to list it out, first of all, so you can actually have a good understanding of this thing, right? First of all, they have to consolidate that cargo to a warehouse. So you're dealing with exporters who are typically in season, let's say he's in season with ginger for only 4 months in a year, right? And the typical trade system for especially when it comes to like rentals in Africa is that you have to pay 1 year for everything, right? So while we pay 1 year, he's only in season for 4 months in a year, right? Why can't we actually ensure that we can support these guys to be able to say, hey, I only need a space in a warehouse, right? That can take my let's say 90 tons of ginger that I'm going to ship into 3 containers, and I want to rent it out for, let's say, on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, right? Why must he pay for a year? Now, that is the first thing. Consolidation of that cargo from the farm locations, from the farm gates to a warehouse location, which might be in the port city or it might be in a transit location. Now, another major issue revolves, first of all, also around the quoting system, right? In 2022, we're having situations whereby you still have traders, right, or even agents have to email or phone shipping lines to say, hey, can you give me a rate for moving this cargo from, let's say, the exit port is the port of Lagos to a destination port, which can be, I'm saying the cargo is going to Point Noir. We're still doing that. And the simplest way I used to describe this to people is this. 30 years ago, when you're buying a flight ticket to fly from, let's say, Lagos again to New York, what do? You go to the airport. Or back in the days, you used to have what you call travel agents, right? And there were big guys who had big offices, and then you go out there, you queue every single day, and then they print out this whole massive long ticket, and then this quotes, and then you choose the airline that works for you. Now, with the advent and the improvement in technology, the likes of Expedia came into play, the likes of Wakana came into play. Now, via these channels, you can book an airline ticket in less than a minute to fly from point A to point Z anywhere in the world, right? So for a key aspect that we all basically play a part in, we're all supply chain professionals. Why is it that we're still having to send emails and make phone calls to shipping lines to say, hey, I want to book a container from point A to point Z, right? Now, you're going to reach out to shipping lines. You're going to call truck drivers. We know that system. I'm sure quite a lot of us actually have to deal with truck drivers here on a weekly basis, right? You're going to reach out to, for example, clearing agents, right? And clearing agents is also another conversation, really. For the clear. And I think one of the things Amanda spoke about when she started was, you're dealing with an agent, and on numerous occasions, you hear, oh, we need to pay this. Oh, this has gone up. This has gone up. This has gone up. A massive we need to improve in terms of the professionalism in that space, right? You're having to deal with a clearing agent, you have to deal with the terminal, right? At times you have to deal with a transit warehouse, right? And then you have to do typically with as long as 6 different services involved in this value chain. On average, to be able to make a booking across all the services, it will take you as much as 10 days. And this is from practical experience, right? Because if you email a shipping line at times, it can take you 2-3 days for them to come back to you, right? And then you're calling different truckers. Truckers can take you another 3 days to be able to position a container, right? And then in the midst of that, you're looking for a warehouse. That may be a transit warehouse. You might need to pay marine insurance for that cargo. That whole process is broken, is significantly fragmented. How do we improve upon that process to support more cross-border traders to be able to tap into opportunities such as the African Free Trade Continental Agreement? That is super critical. The booking process is fragmented, right? The storage process is fragmented, which is what I spoke about earlier. The payment process is significantly fragmented, so, right? Because I've mentioned different players across the value chain I just spoke about, right? And now you're having to deal with these different players on a day-to-day basis, and you're having to pay them via different means. Some will tell you, oh, I would take a bank check. Some will tell you, do a bank transfer to me. I was in Ghana recently, and I was in Kenya, and it was super exciting to see the way M-Pesa works. It was mind-blowing, literally, right? And some would say, oh, okay, I would do an M-Pesa transfer. Some would say, I don't want an M-Pesa transfer because of my reconciliation. I would rather you give me I'd rather you either direct debit me, so you either credit me, do a transfer and stuff like that, really. The payment system is fragmented. How do we ensure that basically there's a one entrance or a gateway for payments, and that gateway can ensure that payments are actually broken down and paid to different people from a single entry across different channels? That is very, very significant. So how do we solve that payment issue? And the second to the last thing I'll talk about in terms of that's also significantly broken is in regards to visibility. A lot of cargo is moving cross-border with zero visibility on it, right? There was a study that was actually done last year. In every 10 trucks moving on the road, in terms of containerized cargo trucks moving on the road in Nigeria, only 2 have tracking systems on them. Only 2. So what you have is a system whereby you have a truck carrying a container, let's say, of TV sets, let's say, $100,000, being driven by a truck driver who is earning $300 a month. I'll allow you to do the maths and the possibilities of what can go wrong, right? There's a lack of visibility. And you're saying, if you can track your parcel, you procure items online currently via different channels. I'm sure we all know the names, right? And you can potentially via an app track your parcel that is worth $3, $4, or you buy an iPhone worth $1,000, and you can track it when it's going to get delivered, right? Why can't we track this cargo that's moving either on ocean, on air, or across land borders in Africa? Why can't we see the position of this cargo? That is a major problem we also need to solve. And then the last thing I also discuss about revolves around the documentation process. There's too much paperwork involved in the documentation process. That is very, very critical as well. When COVID hit in 2020, right? And I'm sure a lot of us here are basically are very, very much on ground and are very aware of the scenario. In the midst of COVID, we had guys going around shipping line offices to queue up to pick up bill of lading documents in the midst of COVID. Why can't we document? Why can't we digitize that process, right? Why can't we digitize that process? Why can't we digitize a lot of the processes revolved around the customs system, right? Why must everything, you're dealing with customs and typically you're having to pick up and take paperwork as big as this, and somebody's signing and stamping, somebody's signing and stamping, and somebody's signing and stamping. In reality, we should be able to get past that stage. And those are some of the challenges that we are basically trying to solve at OnePort 365, coming in basically utilizing a lot of technology to streamline that process, basically. Because I'll tell you what, the world is a global village, right? The rest of the world has moved on very quickly. There's significant standards that have been put in place whereby in Africa, we're still way behind, right? And we're saying we need to be able to compete in the global village. When you have a buyer, let's say, of cocoa who sat out of Rotterdam, and he issues a PO to a supplier who is based locally, let's say in Akure in Nigeria, and he also issues a PO to a supplier who is, let's say, based in Indonesia or Malaysia, right? They had to compete equally. So for the supplier in Nigeria who has to face numerous challenges, bottlenecks, port issues, documentation issues,
Hello, everyone. We had network challenges, but please confirm you can hear me. We're trying to get Shola back on so that we can go ahead and conclude the webinar in a few minutes. So let's just give it a bit of time because I'm sure that Shola still had some things to say. Okay, seems like everybody can hear me, I believe. Yes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of the comments while we wait for Shola to join us back. I have Mr. David who joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. Will the video of the webinar be made available after? Yes, we will work on getting the video over to you. Thank you for joining, Bosun. Such detailed, in-depth exposure. Thank you, Mr. Usidame. That's from Dami. Thank you, Dami. But also says, wow, salute your tenacity and great, Mr. Usidame, using technology to impact the logistics space. Thank you, Bosun. We are very excited about the work we do here at OnePort 365. Okay, Mr. David, who joined us, also had a question or statement, I think. Yes. The issue with payments is first having a single gateway with global payment infrastructure for all types, all channels, and all currencies in the world, with the least processing fee that can be physical, web-based, and virtual app and offline. In a country like Nigeria, there has to be first a solid digital economy infrastructure to solve this. And we are at the forefront in solving this challenge. 1.365 is a potential partner that will facilitate trade across Africa. Thank you so much, Mr. David. I'm going to go ahead and take a note of your organization, and hopefully you might hear from me specifically in the coming days. I want to believe we have Shola back online.
I'm just going to wrap it up from what we're trying to solve at 1.365 and kind of make it a bit more simplified. We're basically basically streamlining the process for cross-border traders, and that is very, very critical. Basically, now streamlining it, solving quite a number of issues, right? And we're not going to solve it alone. So we're working in partnerships with quite a number of also organizations, from the shipping lines down to the terminal operators, down to the regulators, the customs, the Ministry of Investment and Trade, Nigerian ports authorities, the ports authorities in Kenya, the ports authorities in Ghana, right? The ports authorities across numerous jurisdictions in Africa, right? And we're saying you need to streamline this process to ensure that African traders can be competitive in the global village, which is where we're playing, right? And that is super, super critical. So the first thing basically that we need to solve, which we solve, is how do we simplify that booking process from a 10-day booking process on average. So to being able to say you can book for your cargo or your goods, commodities, your cargo, your freight, your container, right, to go via air or to go via containers, basically. And you can make that booking in less than a minute. Very, very critical. Make reference to what I said when we started initially. Basically, 30 years ago, you had to go to the airport to buy a plane ticket. Now you can buy it from the comfort of your home or from the comfort of your office, right? We need to ensure that we move away from a 10 days booking process to a system whereby you can book, you can get instant rates, you can get instant quotes, and make those bookings in less than a minute. That's the first and the most important thing for us at 1.365. Instant rates, instant bookings, instant basically, ensuring that you move away from the traditional system to being a more digitized process, basically. The booking is very critical. The payments gateway is super critical, basically. You should be able to do every single thing in regards to payments via a single platform. Payment of customs duties, payment to regulators, payment to liners, payment to terminals, payment for warehouse storage and everything. You should be able to say, this is my total value for my invoice. I can make this payment via channel. Very important. Also, another thing, which are the challenges I spoke about, what we're trying to address, it revolves around the issues around visibility. There's a lot of theft going on in the system when it comes to cargo and displayment. How do we ensure there's visibility on this cargo? Very, very critical. Visibility is a very, very paramount aspect that we need to address. And also another thing we're also addressing revolves around documentation. How do we streamline and take away this paperwork system to a very simplified process? And that is those are the key challenges we're trying to solve at 1.365. We've done a lot of work. We're constantly building. We're super excited about opportunities we're actually and the solutions we're solving for African cross-border traders. And we also count on the professionals who play in this space to obviously join us as we actually build this thing. And we build an operating system for trade in Africa. It's super critical. So thank you very much for your time. Oluchi, do I still have a minute, or basically my time is up?
No, you haven't. Can you hear me, first of all? I just want to make sure you can hear me.
perfectly.
Perfect. So I'm my turning on my camera is to let you now
Okay,
finally
awesome.
announce the offer to everyone, and I will speak on it after you. Yes.
Okay, okay, awesome, fantastic. Thanks for that. So for us, we're very, very, very keen to grow the cross-border trade market. Cross-border trade, cargo originating or destined for the African market, right? And we've put together a fantastic and wonderful package, basically, for name it, from the SME cross-border traders to the big guys who basically moving cargo on a weekly basis. For us, it's super critical that we actually are a system of support to everybody who plays in that space. And so for that reason, basically, we're saying for anyone who basically makes a booking via OnePort 365, and this is fantastic. We've come together and said, how do we support the system? How do we ensure more people are actually moving cargo, right? For anyone who moves cargo cross-border, either through air, ocean, or through any other means of cargo that moves from one location to the other, if you make a booking between today, the 28th, and next week, Thursday, the 4th of August, you get free customs brokerage and post documentations for basically making those bookings via OnePort 365. That is fantastic, basically. We're saving you significant amount of funds on every single transaction you make, right? It only exists of 2022. 1 week period. You get free customs brokerage, and you get your post documentations all on OnePort 365. We're super excited to support the market. We're super excited to support cross-border traders, and we look forward to working with you, being able to support you on your cargo and on your transactions. And we're basically excited to actually have this offer available to the market. So thank you very much for listening to me. Apologies for the interruption, Power. We've been able to sort that out right now, and we're super excited to work with everybody who's actually been on this webinar today. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm sure I'm available to actually take on more questions, and then I'm happy to answer your questions as well. Thank you. So there's also, just to add, so you can see on the system right now, there's an accept offer. You want to go on that link, basically take a look at that link, fill up the details. Basically, we have a back channel basically who's getting those details, and we would actually reach out to you and be able to take on those bookings on a daily per minute situation. Really, we're super excited. We're not aware of anything that has been done similarly in the market via this, really. So it's something, it's an opportunity I would encourage you to actually jump on, really. We're for the challenge I actually mentioned, this is the right system, this is the right place to actually ensure that your bookings, and you can actually solve those challenges around getting quick quotes, easy booking, containerized tracking, right? And we're constantly bringing out more products to the market, and that is super, super critical. So jump on the offer. It's not something that's going to be lasting for more than a week. We're also available to actually, we can reach us via our different medias and our different channels, phone, WhatsApp, every other channel, and to ensure that you can get a first-hand understanding of what we can actually offer your organization. And also, we're open to name it. We're open to the big players. We're open to the small players. Our key mission is to streamline the cross-border trade for African traders, and that's something we're super excited about. So again, I would advise you, let's jump on that offer. Let's make it happen, basically. you want to give this a go, it's only in system for 1 week, and we're super excited to actually have it available in the market. Thank you. Oluchi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. Thank you so much, Shola, for that one. That was incredibly insightful. I've been reading some of the comments that we'd gotten before when we had the little power outage. I'll just read a couple of them that have questions so that maybe you can kind of speak to it. We
Sure.
have somebody who is asking to make sure that we're going to have this kind of sessions physically. So I hope maybe if you can reiterate that yes, we will, so that you can hear it from your
We
mouth and
will.
believe it's better than
We
mine.
will try.
We will try.
We will try. We will. But
And I'm
on
here
seriously,
promising that
we'll
it
have
will
a.
happen.
It will happen. No, it would happen. I think the more sessions we have, whereby, and one of the things I keep saying, really, it got to a point whereby I just said, what, I get invited to panels and I get invited to sessions, and we need to stop talking and start doing in terms of
I agree.
providing solutions to the market in reality,
I agree.
And it got to a point where, I get way more often invited to panels, and I'm like, hey, I'm not too sure, because we talk, but we need to start doing. We need to start taking action, right? So yes, we would have it, and we're not only in Nigeria. We're not exclusive to Nigeria. We're across various markets in Africa, right? We're super excited. We're operational in Ghana. We're operational in Kenya. Kenya is a market we're super excited about in terms of East African market and all that. And we're gradually growing our footprint across Africa, really. So the conversation is not just limited to Nigeria. I can tell you that. So for my fellow cross-border traders and my brothers and sisters who are out of Kenya, out of East Africa, out of Ghana and the rest of West Africa, out of South Africa, North Africa, we're all in this together. We're going to make it happen, and we're going to streamline cross-border trade for the African cross-border trader. Right. So yes, 100% count my word on that. We're on this together. We would ensure that we're constantly having physical sessions. Moving on from Q4, count my words on that. From Q4 2022, it's going to happen.
All right, then you're heading here first. The Oga has spoken, so it's going to happen most definitely. At least enough for my hand. My claim has been supported. So I'd like to encourage everyone here to please get to clicking on the link. I put it in the chat box, and there's also the accept offer button right on your screen. This is 1 week, and you can get free customs brokerage and post documentation. Those of us who are in the industry know that this is not a 100 naira offer, neither is it a 1,000 naira offer. It's not even a 10,000 naira offer. This is saving you big bucks. So for the fact that you joined us for an hour 30
Absolutely.
minutes so far, you get to get your company or your organization win a free bonus by taking this to your supply chain head if you're not actually the one who's going to take the decision. But you need to get to clicking. We need as many people as possible to take advantage of this offer. This is exactly what Shola said. It's not all about talking, it's about actually doing. And this offer is our way of doing and our way of showing that we're really committed to your success and committed to ensuring that you are able to move your goods and services as fast as possible to wherever it is. And we are offering that support, and we really would like you to come on this journey with us as we digitize freight forwarding in Africa. On that note, I'd like to start to round up. I promised that we're going to be out of here before 1, and so far I have done that. But I want to make sure, first of all, before I round up, that we do not have any questions for Shola. We have more of comments, but Shola, if you can go to the comment section, because I read them already, I don't want to have to kind of repeat
Yeah.
myself. So you'd see a lot of hailings for you in there. People seem to enjoy your presentation so much, which I did as well. So thank you so much. Well done.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, so on that note, I think I'm going to go ahead
Thank
and
you.
round this up, but I still encourage the comments to keep coming in. Thank you everyone for taking the time this Thursday afternoon/morning to be with us. We do not take it for granted. We do not take it lightly. We are incredibly appreciative of your support, and would like to encourage everyone to please, the link is there. If you don't need it, send it to a family friend, send it to a colleague, send it to your former colleague, send it to anybody, send it everywhere. Put it on your WhatsApp status, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Instagram. Share the link. For 1 week only, you get free customs brokerage and post documentation if you book your shipment online with OnePort 365. Please let's support this company of ours, this little baby that we're grooming. We would like to ask for support from you. get the offer, talk to people about us, tell people about what we do here, tell people about the revolution that's happening here. And we're very sure that at some point we will really get away from talking and start to do. On that note, I'd like to say a very big thank you to all our speakers, Amanda Etuk, Mr. Lewis, and of course, Sola-Usidame, for facilitating what I believe has been an incredible almost 2 hours of learning. We'll leave the offer on for a bit so that people who haven't taken advantage can click on the button or click on the link. But we'd like to say a very big thank you, most of all, to the attendees who took time to join this. We're grateful. We apologize for the hitches. We do admit that there were a couple of hiccups over here, and we assure you of a much smoother and better experience at our next webinar. We plan to have this monthly, so please stay tuned. You'll be getting details of the August webinar, and I assure you it'll be much better than this. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Oluchi Okafor, and I have been very happy to moderate this event. Thank you, and we hope to see you next month. Please click on the offer. Don't forget, click on the offer, and enjoy the rest of your day.